Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? You alright? The week been treating you okay? Well, I hope we've been treating you okay, because this is the second episode of the week. Nick Payne was Tuesday, and today we travel to Yorkshire to meet the Mancunian poet, J.B. Barrington. Now, if you saw Sleaford Mods on their last tour, you'll have seen J.B. supporting. If you have seen Reverend and the Makers at the moment on their current tour, JB will have been supporting. He is a real force. We went over to Yorkshire, he invited us into his house, we set up in the dining room, and his lovely wife was cooking us all food after it, so we thought we'd best get down to it and have a natter. But what I wanted him to start off by doing was reading us some of his poetry. So he went to get his bag of tricks. By bag of tricks, I mean his actual bag. He carries this bag and he's got all his notes and all his books in. I think that's like his life right in there. And we thought we'd kick off with a bit of poetry. This is episode 59 of the Two Shot Podcast with J.B. Barrington. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the end.
You want something punchy to start with?
Go on then, go something punchy to start. Because we can move on.
You want sunglasses? Everybody wants sunglasses, don't they? Do you know the poem Sunglasses, Tom?
Don't know.
Okay, testing your fucking allegiance here tonight. You don't know anything, do you? But I always introduce myself. I always say I'm JB Barrington, don't worry, I don't know who you are either. It's the best introduction, that.
Well, introduce yourself.
So are we recording now?
We're recording.
Okay. Well, hello, I'm JB Barrington, don't worry, I don't know who you are either. It's lovely to be here. Do you want me to report now?
Yeah, go on.
I'll do that. This is called Do Opposites Attract, because my missus really likes this one. You're the reason for my early rise of glory in the morning. I'm the reason why you roll your eyes and roll away whilst yawning. You're the reason I douse my undies in Old Spice as we head to bed. I'm the reason you prefer a cup of tea and take up a good book instead. You're the reason I bring flowers to the door of our abode. I'm the reason for your suspicions that I found them by the road. You're the reason for the 5 a day in our fridge of vitamin C. I'm the reason there's always a chip pan on the go in time for tea. You're the reason for the question, do opposites attract? I'm the reason there's an answer, and it's yes, and we're proof of that. I thank you.
I don't think there's any better way to start an episode.
Well, it's true, yeah, we're poles apart, but you know.
That's nice.
But they do say opposites attract, and we do, evidently.
So here we are in East Riding, sipping.
East Riding of Yorkshire, yeah.
Sipping a very nice lager at the end of the day.
Everyone still thinks I live in Salford.
Well, I was going to say, a proud Salford man like you, what are we doing on the wrong side of the Pennines?
There's a bit of a story to it, yeah. I mean, I am from Salford, Little Ulton. I grew up there, a little sleepy hamlet onto the west of Salford, if you know it. But I met Sharon, and as you do, you follow your heart, and she didn't want to move, and I did. So I ended up in York about 9 years ago.
Why York, though?
Because, well, Sharon's from Scarborough originally.
Right.
She lived in York at the time, and I just moved there. Because I could, and it was easy for me to move around, you know what I mean? So
because of work?
Well, and just the fact that, you know, I just really fancied a change. And it was beautiful, you know, and Sharon just wasn't willing to move. Not that she didn't like Salford or Manchester, where she lived was beautiful. I get slated now, on her for saying, oh, well, I'm from Salford, you know, nothing wrong with that.
But you still got a lot of love for Manchester and Salford, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I wouldn't be the person I am without it. Yeah.
Of course not.
More Salford than Manchester.
Tell me about growing up Little Hulton.
Oh, man, superb. Well, I mean, 4 big council estates. I lived on Wandsworth Road estate. There was Kenyon Way, there was Captain Ford, there was Mount Skip. There was 4 big estates that were built. They were built in the 60s to house the overspill of those in Salford after sort of post-war, when they knocked all the slums down, built the precinct, blah, 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 and put a load of flats up, and then they shipped everybody out. So from what I can gather from talking to my mum, and it was like utopia, because suddenly you moved to this place where it was like front and back garden, inside bog, you know what I mean? And it was beautiful. And me growing up there, coming along later on in the 70s was that sense of community and that sense of, the Labour Club and stuff like that. And then for me, going in that Labour Club as I got older, the characters you would never meet that sort of calibre of comedy or that sense of,
because it was of its time. Or?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of them are dead now, and I without those people, I would never have wrote, 3/4 of the stuff I've ever wrote. I probably would never have wanted to write, but I wanted to write about them, and I just remembered stuff they used to say, and the stories, the old dockers. I mean, most of these people were shipped onto the dole under Thatcher. Do you know what I mean? There was huge amounts of poverty, but I think within that level of poverty, there's always that kind of humour. The working class are very good at that.
Yeah,
good at having a laugh and laughing at themselves, and I do that when I'm on stage. I'm very self-deprecating, and I have a go at myself.
Especially when times are hard.
Oh yeah, they were good at that. I mean, bearing in mind,
I
was a pot collector in the Labour Club. I'd only be 16, 17, and watching these turns on a Saturday night, and they would, they would, their jokes were based around being in debt, and struggling, but actually, they were getting 200 quid a night. They were in a good crust. You know what I mean? But they had this great way of making you feel.
But they also need
that
material that the audience can connect with.
Absolutely,
I'm the same as you. I'm one of you.
Yeah. And I've always, and that ties into to songs as well and to bands. I've always connected to people that wrote about stuff that I could connect to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I became, in the 80s, I was a House Martins fan because Paul Eaton's lyrics were, just was so. They resonated so much with me. I mean, initially Paul Weller with the Jam, do you know what I mean? But that kind of went off with the Style Council, and I kind of lost that and thought, what's that? And then later on in life, found it again and really enjoyed the music, but I didn't really get where he was coming from. But, you think of Billy Bragg and Paul Heaton, and even, strangely enough, Chuck D with Public Enemy, even though he was a black Afro-American artist, talking about the struggles in America, I kind of got it as a sort of young kid growing up on a council estate because he had the same similar kind of struggles.
What kind of struggles were you facing, though, as a family?
Well, I mean, when I left school, it was either a YTS or you went you signed on the dole the same time as your dad. I mean, I didn't have foot, unfortunately, because my dad worked. He was a paint and decorator, but I did a YTS. But it was that kind of, I don't know, you will work at that factory, you will do that, you will do this, that building site's for you. There's nothing else for you, you know what I mean? So, just grateful for what you've got.
What did you want to do?
Oh, I never knew. I still don't know. I never knew what I wanted to do. It's funny, when I left school, I wanted to go and further my education because I was really into reading, which was frowned upon, which is on most places like where I grew up, probably same as yourself.
Yeah.
Something wrong with you if you like reading, do you know what I mean? But I was really, and that again was through listening to House Martins, Billy Bragg, and finding out about Karl Marx, and I read the Ragged Trouser Philanthropist, which is behind me. If you look at the Great Money Trick, I know
there it is.
I know the listeners can't see it, but my favourite book is Robert Trestle, and I've got a print there of the Great Money Trick. But I read that book when I was about 14, and everything changed. I mean, up to being about 14, I was just a little scrote that didn't really know anything. Do you know what I mean?
Were you getting into trouble?
Yeah, not major, but I was probably hanging around with the wrong people. But reading kind of got me out of that. But reading politically, Robert Trestle's Ragged Trouser Philanthropist made me sort of see it in a different world. But from that, what did I want to do? I just wanted to. God, it's like a counselling session, man. I wanted to make my dad proud. Because he didn't speak. He was one of those. He didn't have the ability to speak. You know what I mean. He was that generation.
Or to show.
He was no good at that. So I just thought, right, he works for this building company called Seddons in Little, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to do a YTS. I want plumbing. I didn't want to do it, but I did it because I thought it'll make him proud. You know what I mean. And then about 3 years into it, 2 years into my apprenticeship, he died very suddenly. I've never forgiven for that, actually. Sounds weird, but he died, and I just thought, I did this because I wanted him I wanted to stand at the bar in a Labour club and have a beer with him, and him to say, "Oh, my lad's this and that," and I never got to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because he went. So after that, I kind of just went. I fucked it off and did a bit of this, bit of labouring, and I was in a few bands, and as you can see, there's a guitar. I used to play guitar, and that's how the poetry started. Because I was writing stuff, and I was just like, playing around, and didn't do a lot for a long time, and kind of lost the plot really. So
What do you mean when you say lost the plot? You just got a bit lost
I
in
was
what
all
you were
over the
doing?
place, in and out of the dole, on and off the dole, doing this, doing that, you know, stuff I couldn't really say on tape, you know what I mean?
No,
but,
I understand.
But yeah, you're doing it. It's funny how you end up in life, you know what I mean? But I think I was always writing stuff.
Were you showing people what you were writing?
No, burying it away. Yeah, it was just my little way of. I kind of wanted to be a Paul Heaton. I know people will laugh at that and they go, "Oh, Paul Heaton, Beautiful South." That's mine. To me, he's one of the greatest lyric writers in the country.
Yeah,
you know
he's brilliant.
what I mean? He is a big influence on me.
And he doesn't do that many interviews. That certainly I don't see him anymore. But I remember seeing one years ago when he was on TFI Friday with Chris Evans. I'll never forget it because he came across as one of the most genuine blokes.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, because I used to do. I played guitar and I was writing songs, and I was in this little folk club in Salford in Swinton called Swinton Folk Club, and he'd moved to Manchester, Paul, when he was with the Beautiful South, and then the Beautiful South split up, and then he went solo, and he was on Facebook under a pseudonym, Horace Heaton Jr., which was his dad's name, so he called himself Horace Heaton Jr.
Right.
And as you do, is that friend request? And he accepted, and he said, "That's not him." Do you know what I mean? And it was, because he went through a spell where he was genuinely on Facebook. You know what I mean? And then I was doing these songs and posting them on Facebook at the time. I'll go back now and play.
What were you recording them or videoing them?
Little videos of us. We used to play in this pub. We used to play folk songs. We used to write our own songs. It was called the Snug Songwriters Night, and he really liked it. And I wasn't a great singer, and I'm still not a great singer, but I can play. And
how old were you now around this time?
Oh, this is. We've jumped forward quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So this is about the same time I met Sean, about 2010.
Right.
So this is kind of how it leads into me doing poetry, because I got to know Paul because of the stuff I was doing online and Facebook and so on and so forth. And he took the King's Arms over. And I used to do a thing there called the Salford Salutes Dylan, which was a Dylan night, and I used to go there and play anyway. And then he was doing a poetry night, and him and his girlfriend at the time, Zena, said, "We're doing a poetry night, do you want to come and do some of your songs?" His poems, and I was thinking, why? Because my fucking songs are shit, I can't sing. And he was like, no, it's because, you know, you write lyrics, you know, we're doing a poetry night. So I'd never stood up and read poetry. I'd played guitar to a degree, but always with someone else, because I was never confident playing on my own. And then ended up going doing this poetry night, what Paul was doing. So you imagine flipping back, he's a big hero of mine. All his albums, House Mine, I was a Beautiful South fan as well, and he was a big influence, and all of a sudden he's asking me to go and do a poetry night, and he's in the audience. How the fuck did we get to that from my dad fucking dying to me going doing a YTS?
Don't worry, it's all in hand.
Is this how these podcasts work? This is like some kind of regressive therapy session. I started with a poem and I've just gone fucking 25 years of my life from being a scout on the dole.
But it's funny because you say that about... So that was the first time you got up in front of anybody and read your poems?
Yeah, 9th of March.
Because you remember when we
9th
met?
of March 2012.
When
And Mike
we
Gary
first-
was there. You know Mike Gary, the poet?
No.
Well, Mike Gary was on as well, and there's a guy called Gav Roberts was on from Rotherham, who I've ended up being really good friends with, and he's a brilliant poet, and it just took off from there. Because suddenly I just found this thing I'd been looking for all my life. Because I've always been, you fucking open the fridge and the light comes and I'm there, the jazz hands, you know what I mean? I'm like, da-da-da-da, boom, you know. And nobody was ever interested, you know, he's a fucking prick, he's had a few beers, you know what I mean? And I was, you know, every school report, class clown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you look back, there has to be a reason for that, because you're looking for something that's not there. So it might be a cuddle from my mum and dad, it might be some recognition at home, because my mum and dad were busy working. My dad was just the way he was. He was a fantastic provider. He was a grafter. We never went without anything. And actually on the estate, if I think about it now, because I'm in, you know, when I think about like the trainers I got and all, I mean, a lot of it's in my poems, you know what I mean? We never went without, we weren't poor,
no.
but we weren't rich, do you know what I mean? He just didn't fucking speak. He couldn't talk. I'm not saying he couldn't speak. He wasn't fucking dumb, you know what I mean? But I have a joke.
It's of a generation, isn't it?
But I have a joke where I said my dad only ever said 6 words to me. That was turn telly over and ask your mum. Because it wasn't his gig.
Yeah.
That wasn't his gig. His gig was fucking dishing out the punishment,
yeah,
if required, and it fucking was. But my mum was the one that kind of smoothed everything over, and you know what I mean. When I was a punk, in about 78, I was only 7 or 8. So I'm trying to be a punk, and I had Sex Pistols on my coat. My mum used to pass my coat over the wall because my dad had gone mental. He'd found it in the wash house. What's this? You know, he's got swearing on his coat. My mum would pass it over the wall, and like, you know, when you wanted to dress up in certain clothes and that, it was always my mum that sorted it out. Do you know what I mean? But there's a flip side to that, because my mum, I was telling Sharon the other day, actually, which is my wife, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. We went, when my dad didn't go to parents' evening, because her dad didn't go to parents' evening, he was probably at darts or something like that. That wasn't for him. My mum would go to parents' evening, it'd be shocking. She'd come back and tell him everything they'd said, and I was like, and it'd be a nightmare. I'd get kept in for like 6 weeks, and a part of me's thinking, just fucking lie, mum.
Yeah.
Just lie and say, oh, it was all right, Jack, you know, and everything would have been cool. My posters would have stayed on the wall, my records wouldn't have got fucking thrown in the bin. But that's the way it was, and he wasn't, you know, he was very, very strict. But you know, I don't know his history, because I never really, because he was 50 when he went, and I was 17. You know what I mean? So again, how did we get to that?
we just go all
Dr.
around.
Craig.
We jump back and forth in time. Was it just you, man? Was it no brothers and sisters?
I've got a brother. Yeah, I have a brother and sister. 7 years. My sister's 7 years older, and my brother's 9 years older. So, I mean, we all lived at home. My brother left when he was 18, but I kind of remember we all lived together at some point. But yeah, but they were older, so they kind of did one, and I was sort of, you know, as I got into my little sort of teens, it was just me. Do you know what I mean?
But you used to have a good relationship with them.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, she had a room with my brother, but he was a United fan. I was a City fan, so that was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything about football, but I do know that.
Yeah, well, it was split in our estate. I mean, it's mostly United because I live from Salford, I mean, but there was a few City fans in our estate, and I was one of them, which wasn't great growing up.
I bet.
It's all right now.
I bet. I heard. So, you know, when that first time when he got up at the King's Head?
King's Arms.
The King's Arms,
Oh.
sorry. I remember when we
that's where we was.
Yeah, but do you remember
Because suddenly I found myself.
Have a word in edgeways,
Yeah.
Do you remember when we first met the other year? And it was the first time we'd met proper. And
at Cheltenham?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you'd just done...
Who'd have thought it, eh? Me going to Cheltenham.
Cheltenham. How they have the likes of me and you in Cheltenham?
Oh, where you going, Cheltenham? Yeah.
But you were saying to me, he said, you know, I've got I put it out. It's a heightened version. You've got to put on that sort of that stage persona when you're reading your work. Did you find that stage persona that first night, or
I think so, because I was really nervous, and I was nervous because Paul Clean was in the audience.
Yeah,
and I was in awe of him. So I walked on stage even that night, and I just thought, I'm just going to fucking have this. And there's a little bit of sort of cockiness in it, but I think we've all got that anyway.
But there is with you. There's something a bit sort of that you deserve to be on this stage.
Oh yeah,
fuck you. I'm off a rock star anyway.
It frightens me when I look back at myself. I hate watching video, and I don't like people putting things on YouTube. If I know them and they're filmed, I always say, "Can you send it me first before you put it up?" Because I like to look at it. I hate watching myself, but
why? Because you're your own worst critic.
Yeah, I just think I look fucking harmless. You know what I mean? And I think I sound thick. You know, but I can't help the way I talk.
Well, you don't sound thick.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. I'll try and talk a little bit. You know, if
no,
I'm in Cheltenham,
now you do.
If I'm in Cheltenham Poetry
that.
Festival, you know, I mean, we'll be talking a little bit.
They didn't know what hit them. They loved it.
But yeah, there is, and it's an act. It's a persona, because you know I'm not. You know, you have to, because when you're doing Sleaford Mods gigs, I mean, we're skipping forward a lot further.
Don't worry,
now.
we can go back and
when you're doing those big
there.
crowds, and you're doing Reverend and the Makers, when you're doing Shed 7, you know, and I did Kendall Calling, where I was opening up for the Charlatans and that, you've got to bear in mind, no fucker knows who you are. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to walk out there and say, look, I'm a poet. Straight away, if I'm in an audience and I'm at a gig and I'm waiting for a band, and someone walks out and goes, I'm a poet, I'm going to read you some poems, I'm like, get to fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking poetry.
I've paid my money to see Sleaford Mods.
You know, where's your butterfly net? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've got to walk out and just have it, you know. And I tell you, when I did the Ritz in Manchester with Sleaford Mods, fucking you know, I don't know what the capacity is there, but it must have been. It was hammered, 2,000 people. And my mate Kermit from Black Grape, you know, Rap Assassins, Kermit, he came and he was at the back with his mate. And when he come off, he just went, "You fucking lion tamer." And I love that.
Yeah.
And it was nice. And I've not said that before. I'm not a bit uncomfortable saying it now because it's like I'm bragging. I'm not.
No, but that's somebody saying somebody's opinion about what you just did.
Because all he could see was people who've been... Now, bear in mind, when the main act comes on, it's generally around 10 past 9.
Yeah.
They've been in the venue, invariably, since 7:30 onwards, absolutely
Having
drinking
a drink.
beer. Or they've been drinking somewhere else where the beer's all right. Because in most venues, the beer's shite.
Yeah.
And they're out there, and they just want the main. Nobody really wants a support band. I mean, let's be honest. And it's nice when you find a good support band.
Yeah,
I've done it. I've been in there because I like music, same as yourself. So I will watch the support bands, and I go, oh, who are they? Oh, you might say, not keen on them. Most people are not interested. You walk out as a point for 10, because that's all you can do. 10-15 minutes. You can't do any more on that. If you try to do any more on that, you're a loser. But yeah, and he said, oh, you're at the line timer because I just kept them quiet for 10 minutes or 10-15 minutes or whatever it was. And it's because you almost, and I hate saying this, you walk out with the same attitude as Liam Gallagher. You watch Liam Gallagher walk out, whether you like him or not.
But as I said, you've got that when you walk on stage.
Because you don't know if Liam Gallagher genuinely is shitting himself every time he goes out. Because he'll never tell you.
Because he's going out with his shield and his sword and he's doing that.
He's exactly the same as when you was a kid. I mean, I'm not a fighter and I'm not a tough guy by any means. You know what I mean? My missus could knock 10 tons of shit at me if she wanted to. I'm not a fighter. But when you're a kid growing up and when you're with a crew of boys or whatever, or lads, and you fight people from the next neighbourhood or the next city or the next town, you have to front it, don't you? And it's all about front. And sooner or later you get caught out. But mostly it's chest out, shoulders back, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I'm waiting for the day on stage when I lose. I've been lucky so far. Touch wood. I've got away with it. There was one occasion, and if John McClure was here now from Reverend the Makers, he'd tell you where I think it was Sheffield Academy because it's their home gig, Reverend the Makers. It was a tough crowd because they were. Sometimes with technical difficulties and all that, John put me on right before they come on. So you're talking 9 o'clock.
So there'd already been a support band on before that, so you were in the middle?
He puts me on right before they're coming on. Right. Steve Underwood from Steve Modge used to do the thing. It was that perfect bridge in between where actually the comfort zone would be to go on at 7:30, 8 o'clock and perform to maybe a couple of hundred. They're going to listen. No, you're going on at 9. Suits me. I'll have it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a bigger crowd. I might sell more books. Because it's all about selling books, you know what I mean, and exposure. But and John will tell you if he was there, I did 2 gigs with him. I did Sheffield and Manchester. When I did Sheffield, there was a crew in there, obviously local lads, big Reverend Makers fans, and they weren't for being quiet. They were
already started.
But I just managed to go over the top of it, and eventually they just came round because I've got a lot, you know, because my act's I do a lot of stand-up comedy as well, so I've got some great heckle put-downs which are mine.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of guys being really, really noisy, and I just stopped and said, for fuck's sake, lads, I'm working up here. You know, I don't come fucking my avenue when you're working, wiping tables at McDonald's. Well, the whole place goes up. So they've got a choice there to carry on, and I've got the microphone. Bernard Manning, whether you like him or not, was a fucking genius at the heckle put-downs, and he used to say, you can be the funniest man in the crowd. I've got the microphone. I'll make you look a cunt. And I've kind of adopted that from, again, going back to listening to those Labour Club comics.
See where we're going.
Absolutely, yeah. You learn it and it stays with you because they were brilliant, you know what I mean? There will be very funny people in the crowd full of beer that one-on-one are either going to knock you out or they'll nail you with their wit, but nobody can hear them. Exactly. The only people that can hear them is 5 or 6 mates around them. And I'll make them look a twat. And
if all the rest of the crowd are on board with you.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, afterwards, I'm always thinking, oh, fuck, you know, I'm right. So I always finish with a nod and a wink, say, come and buy a book, you know what I mean? You know, we're all friends.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And you, touch wood, to this day, I'm still in one piece. There might come a day when I get a good idea. But then I think that's the danger for every act. Yeah. And I'm sure even John or Jason from Sleaford Mods or, you know, whatever band, if you're having bands don't really tend to have a pop with the audiences. I'm sure Jason has worked from Sleaford Mods. I mean, I've seen him have a few people, you know, somebody threw a doll's arm, and I was supporting him in fucking Dundee, and someone threw a doll's arm on stage. I can't remember what that was about because I was hammered, but it was funny. But he threw it back and had a go. But nobody's ever had a pop at him because I think there's a bit of license when you're on stage.
Yeah.
You know, Because I'll say to someone, you know, I'll have a go at someone, and I'll turn away and I'll look at someone and go, is he a big cunt? You know what I mean? And people laugh, you know what I mean? And then I've had lads come up to me. I mean, one of the greatest and I'm going to ruin a gag here that I use on stage, but I'm going to do it. Hebden Bridge, Sleaford Mods. I did the Trades Club there with them. Fantastic gigs. Sleaford Mods were fucking great, as they always are. But I was doing my act, and I use the C word. You know, I use it loosely. I don't use it in any sort of effeminate, offensive way.
You've already used it about 5 times
I have,
this episode,
yeah.
so
It's
don't
just
worry.
a great word. Oh, do you know, my mum makes me laugh at that word, you know, because she'll say, I don't like that cunt word. I don't want to hear the cunt word. I don't mind swearing, but I don't want to hear the cunt word. So you just said it 4 times, man. But I was, and I'd used that word a couple of times because it's in a poem or whatever, and there was a bit of a commotion at the back of quite a packed, well, it was sold out, so, you know, Hebden Bridge Trades Club probably holds about 600-700, really intimate venue, and there was a commotion at the back of the thing, and I could hear this girl, lady, whatever, sort of going on, and I stopped and I says, well, what's up? She went, you know the word you just used there, the C word, it's offensive to women in general, and da. So I says, oh, I do apologise, and I'm sorry for offending you, but I couldn't hear you, I couldn't see you, and I couldn't tell what you were saying. Which the fucking place went up, do you know what I mean? So Sleaford Mods come out and opened up with Bunch of Cunts.
Did they?
Yeah, I was their opening track.
Brilliant.
Because when I told Jason after the gig, and I don't know if you've been to Trades Club, but if he was here, Jason, he'd tell you there's like a fire escape stairwell where the artists come up and then go into the stage. You know what I mean? At Trades Club, it's brilliant. And obviously, I was smoking at the time, so you stand out there and have your fag and that, you know what I mean? And he doesn't smoke cigarettes, Jason. I don't think he was smoking them, but Andrew smoked, so we stood out there. And when they'd finished the gig, they'd come off, and I told him that story, and he just fucking grabbed me and gave me a big hug. He said, that's fucking brilliant, because they opened up with Bunch of Cunts.
Were they already going to open up with Bunch of Cunts?
That was in their set list, yeah.
But did they move it to the top?
No, they just did it anyway, because they weren't. They were down in a little sort of. There was a little area, so they weren't watching my art.
Right.
Fucking God bless them. They've seen it so many times. Why would you want to watch my art when you're doing the gig, you know? But the thing was, what gig did that woman think she was going to?
Yeah.
To not hear that kind of language.
Yeah.
So skip forward a bit. I'm on the merch stand with Steve Underwood, who's Sleaford Mods manager, selling me wares, blah blah blah. And her husband came over, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. This might be the point where I get a fucking black eye. Do you know what I mean? And he was lovely. He said, listen, I'm sorry about the missus. You know, I don't know why she fucking came, mate. You know, I fucking told her. You know, I thought you were fucking brilliant. And I'm like, and again, chest out. I'm trying to be like a bit Liam Gallagher, but inside me's going, thank fuck for that. You know. But then she come over and she was lovely.
Was she?
Absolutely lovely. Bought a book, and I signed it to her.
Happy days. What did you sign in the book?
Cunt. Fuck off, you cunt. Where's this going? I'm going to get shot here. I've got a fucking...
Do you know, after that first gig, and it all went well...
It is me worrying about nattering to you.
You are?
It is me worrying about what I'm going to say.
Don't worry about nattering to me, don't worry. So where did it lead from there?
So where are we in time?
We've gone back to the Arms.
Oh, the King's Arms.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, the King's Arms. I did it, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought I'm going to do some of the songs that I'd wrote. I'm going to do them as poems. Don't Look Down, which is a poem that has become quite well known within my act and everyone loves, was originally a song. That's not in tune, that guitar. I know no one can see it, but I'd have to dig the chord. I could sit, maybe another time I'll sit and play it to you, and it's C, F, A minor, and it's quite a choppy little kind of catchy song. It was a song, a lot of the early poems were, so I just turned it into a poem. And I did that from there. And I was doing all these stuff that I'd wrote as songs. So where I had like a middle eight and things like that, I just chopped that out. Where I had things repeating as choruses, I just made them into poems. Because I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd always wrote songs and poems for like 10, 15 years, but most of them were shite. But I kind of chopped bits from other things and bits of stories and done stuff. So from that gig, the guy who was there, Gav Roberts, you should check him out, great poet down in Rotherham. He invited me to do a thing that he called Romp, which was Rotherham Open Mic Performance or something. He did like a night down there, went down there, and then I did a thing in York because that's where I lived. I went to this place in York, and then I met a guy called Jim Hygo who turned up and performed there. And I went to Hull because he was from Hull. Yeah, Jim's great. Yeah. Well, he did the Charlton Post Festival this year. So then I went to Hull, and again going to Hull was harking back to the House Martins days, because Hull was this mythical place in my brain that I'd never been to, but had spawned all this great sort of music. Do you know what I mean? And I was also into the Velvetones, the Gargoyles, and all that Hull stuff that John Peel used to play years before, at the same time as the Housemartins. That wasn't as successful. So eventually goes to Hull and does a gig there. Met Jim Igo, and then it kind of went from there, really. And then, you know, obviously YouTube, did a bit of Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And the rest is history, really. So, yeah, I can't tell you where that... I think I fell asleep, drank some Mythos, is what we're drinking now, and then woke up and did this podcast with you.
I think we should...
I always remember an interview with Tony Curtis. Listen, I love this, right? Tony Curtis did an interview on Parkinson. It stays with me to this day, right, Craig, because you'll get this. You're talking to me now about timelines. I ain't got a fucking clue what I did yesterday, never mind 10 years ago. Tony Curtis was on... I think it was Parkinson. It was something like that. It might have been Russell Eye or something like that. And it was brilliant. And he was talking about how he first got into Hollywood, how he first became an actor. And you're an actor, so you'll get this, right? And he said, I did this audition and I went for this thing and blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about like the 1950s, you know what I mean? This was like 1992, something before he died, the interview. And he says, and I went to Sunset Boulevard and I went to Hollywood and they rented me this apartment and I had this part in this film. And I remember going into my apartment and I had this pool. I couldn't believe it. And said it was autumn and the leaves were coming on the pool. It was so beautiful. And I was ready to do the shoot for my first film the next day. And then I went to bed and I woke up and I came to do this interview with you now. And he clicked his fingers. And I'm sure it was part. I'd love to. It's not on YouTube. Basically, what you're saying was, that's it, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? So that 40 years of career, but it was because you're thinking, where's he going with this? You know, he's telling us about his apartment, you know, and he just clicked his fingers to it. And then I woke up and I went to do this, and I almost think like I left school 1987. I walked down Alton Avenue in Little Alton. I bought 10 Embassy No. 1 from the shop. I went home. I put Housemartins, People Who Grin Themselves to Death on, and then I went to bed. And I woke up and I'm doing this podcast with you now, and that's how it feels. Do you ever get like that?
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
No, all the time. When I think back to the last 20 years of my life, I do. Very much. But I think we should pause. I think we should have a poem, if that's all right.
Oh, yeah. What do you want?
Do
you want something sad? Because we've gone a bit sad, haven't we?
No, I think we should get out. I don't think we've gone sad, but I think we should maybe have something... Do you know when you open up for these bands... And we'll get on to that after this poem, how that started and how you got us to do that. Do you always have something that you'd open up with, or does it depend on what band you're opening for?
I tend to...
Bless you, Griff.
Well, I tend to open up with... Well, I used to always open up for Sleaford Mods with a poem called There's a Reason, because it's very political, it's very fast. And then I started... I sort of pushed the boat out a bit when I did Revenant Makers, and I started with a poem called You Had Me, which starts very, very... It's sort of there's two parts to it. The first part is very romantic and very poetic, and when I wrote it, I wanted to really write something really poetic and really sort of metaphorical, and almost to try and prove to those kind of cynics in the academical poetry world that I can write poetry, because I can. Do you know what I mean? Without swearing and without being... What's the word? Curt? Is that a word? Curt?
Yeah. Using
you know
curse words or being curt, yeah.
But it's about meeting someone and how it turns out. So I'll do it now. It's called You Had Me. And when I used to do my own show, I used to perform the first three verses in a very kind of John Gielgud, you know, you had me when you first said hello. But I won't do that now because it's really fucking annoying. But it's called You Had Me. It goes like this. You had me when you first said hello, when the fervour in your eyes was all aglow, when the rapture and the passion was in full flow. You had me. You had me with your beautiful face, that winsome smile and your warm embrace, that elegant poise and your enticing grace. You had me. You had me with your sleek physique, the smell of Chanel No. 5 on your cheek, a certain je ne sais quoi, bereft of critique. You had me. Well, you had me, you vicious twat. You fucked me over and that's a fact. You kept the house, I got a flat. You had me. You had me with all your bullshit lies. It's not you, it's me. And your text replies while someone else got between your thighs. You had me. You had me over a fucking barrel, stitched up like a kipper. You had me, Carol. That's because I couldn't find anything to rhyme with barrel, you know, apart from Daryl. Daryl. Will Ferrell. You had me striking through the night, listening to the Carpenters by candlelight without a pot to piss in, but you didn't give a shite. You had me. Oh, you had me and now I wear my heart beneath a ripped sleeve since I fell apart. And now I only think of you whenever I fart. You had me.
Brilliant.
So that kind of works live, you know what I mean? Because people... At the first, So you imagine you walk out Reverend and the Makers audience, 2,000 people. You had me when you first... Who the fuck is this? Go, here we go.
Change the gear.
This is the poetry we don't want to listen to. But after 3 verses, you had me, you vicious twat, you kept the house, I got a flat. Suddenly then, there's probably a good 3/4 of that audience who've gone through that and go, who's this fucking guy? Do you know what I mean? So, and then you do things like Things My Mum Used to Say, Grapes of Wrath, which is about hemorrhoids, obviously, so... Whether you're a sufferer or not, you know, people find it funny. And then I always finish on sunglasses.
Is that... Or you always finish on sunglasses?
I tend to finish, yeah, because it's become... it's quite a quick, sharp one. It makes people laugh. So, and again, that was just a poem that... there's a story to that. And I won't tell you... I'll tell you off podcast. Is that a word? Off podcast.
It is now. I know what you mean.
You know when people say to you at work, so, can we speak offline? You just want to snap the fucking necks, don't you? Oh, I'll tell you what, I've got a poem about management speak that I've never performed, but I'll have to find it. Is that? Can I find that in a bit? And
find that in a bit, and then we'll go back to it.
You know about buzzwords? You know, management buzzwords?
Yeah.
I'll do that, because the viewers, the listeners will love that.
The listening family.
So, where was I?
Well, I'll tell you where I was. How did you get to start opening for bands? Because it's quite... it hasn't really happened for you know. John Cooper Clarke used to do that quite a long time ago, but there hasn't really been, certainly not
John
that
Cooper
I
Clarke
know.
did it for the punk era. Yeah. I finally met John, actually. That's an interesting story I can tell you if you want to talk about that later.
Yeah, I love John.
But I've never really... I've met Weller twice, only because I fucking rode to the Apollo on my scooter and hung around outside to get it signed, do you know what I mean? But I've always been wary of being let down by heroes. That's why when I met Paul Heaton, it was lovely, it was nice, blah blah blah. But I did get to meet John, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And it was lovely because it was set up by his brother. His brother's a friend of ours, me and Sharon and his wife Wendy. They lovely, live in Salford. I'll tell you about that later. So John Cooper Clarke did the punk thing, didn't he? But for me, it was Sleaford Mods. There's a guy called Nick Cope and a guy called Dean. Fuck, if he's listening, he'll fucking knock me out. I can't remember his name. He's a lovely fella. He's from Hull. Dean Chef. Oh fuck, no, it's called Dean anyway, and he promotes bands in Shakespeare. She's shouting from the kitchen.
Thanks, Sharon.
It's called Dean Shakespeare. Dean, if you're listening, I don't know if you are.
How could you forget?
He's a fucking great guy. And I met him at the Humber Street Fest actually. But he promotes bands in York and Hull, and Sleaford Mods were playing the Duchess venue.
Right.
But this is 2015 when they were just they were starting to play decent venues. You know what I mean? And a guy who was a friend of ours, Nick Cope. He had a pub called the Spread Eagle, but he was doing a bit of stuff in York, and he said, "Look, this band Sleaford Mods are playing the Duchess. You know, my mate Dean wants someone to support. I think you're perfect being a poet. You know, they don't really want a band because you know it's sound check and all that sort of stuff." And I didn't know who they were, and I'll be honest with this. And if Jason was listening, and we've had this conversation, it was Sharon who knew who they was. I said, "Oh, Sleaford Mods. Oh, you'll like them." Listen, and I kind of knew about Jolly Fucker because you couldn't not see the YouTube clip. It was viral. You know what I mean? So I did a quick YouTube, and I found Jobseeker. First thing I found was Jobseeker, and I thought, I fucking love that guy. Just the way he was. It's the most viewed Jobseeker clip. I don't know where it's filmed. There's tons of them now, but. It was the lyrics, you know, pull your jeans up, fuck off, I'm going home, job seeker, you know what I mean?
It's got to be Nottingham, hasn't it, surely?
Well, I don't know where the gig was. But
I'm sure they filmed it there.
Yeah, and I thought, fucking hell, they're ace, you know what I mean? And then because originally I just thought, no, because I've always been like, you know, I don't really want to do that. I just wanted to do my own. I did a Manchester Fringe show, and I just wanted to write my own little shows, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, who's going to be interested? I was a bit sort of, not so much nervous, but I always thought, well, who's going to want to fucking listen to me before a band? But I looked at it and I thought, if anything, I just want to go and fucking see them for free. So if I do the gig, I'm not going to have to buy a ticket.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I did it, and it was great. And I did the Duchess, and again, I've been to the Duchess as a punter so many times. And this is one of the things about being a poet. I get to play venues where I'm doing the O2 Academy soon with in Leeds. I've been that many times as a punter to go there and not have to queue up and walk in and, I've got a pass, I'm playing a gig tonight, I pinch myself, you know what I mean? Anyway, so doing Sleaford Mods, and that's how it first started, was Sleaford Mods. Before that, I'd done some band stuff in Manchester with bands called The Moods and Deaf to the Strange at some gig nights in the King's Arms and... Sharon, what was that place called? Was it the Ruby Lounge? Yeah, the Ruby Lounge. We did. I don't know if it's still a venue, but it was a great venue with Deaf to the Strange. They're a Salford band, no longer going, but brilliant band. And the Moods and that, and a band called The Joint. So I'd done stuff with them, just sort of introducing and in between. But to do Sleaford Mods with a bigger crowd, do you know what I mean? Who again?
Did you see it as a challenge? As well as a free
I did
gig?
with Sleaford Mods because when I did the Moods and those Salford bands, a lot of people kind of knew what I was about anyway. So it's a bit easier.
And a much smaller crowd.
Yeah, the Sleaford Mods at Duchess was quite... again, probably about 500-600 capacity. It was full. And then from that, I got booked to do the whole gig with them at Fruit, which sadly just recently has gone. It's not a venue anymore. It's a great venue. And that was Sleaford Mods. And then the manager then... That was through the same promoter, Dean... What was his name? Shakespeare.
It's Dean Shakespeare.
Fucking hell, he's going to go mental. He's a lovely fellow as well. I hope you don't listen. But he's a really nice bloke. Anyway, Dean Shakespeare. It was through him I did Hull. And then I went to do... It was the manager, Steve, asked me to go and do Hebden Bridge. Right. Which is what I've talked about before.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing the Scottish tour. A year later, I did Manchester Ritz with him. I did the Scottish tour, Dundee, Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Glasgow Art School. If you go on YouTube and watch the Sunglasses poem, it was filmed at the art school in Glasgow, which burnt down recently. It's gone.
Oh yeah, we can put a link up for that, can't we, Griff?
Oh. So they've been really wonderful to me, and because if you think about it, my thoughts are, I don't know a lot about the music industry, but I know a good friend of mine is Dave Stead, and I was with him the other day actually. Him and his Mrs. Sam are friends of ours, and Dave was the drummer in the Beautiful South. Right. So he knows the history of the music because he was in a fucking huge band, Beautiful South. And he was telling me the other day that back in the day, if you were supporting a band that was successful, most bands would pay to go on the fucking tour. Most bands would pay to support, and you can kind of understand that because it was exposure. It's going to sell more. But that's when record companies sold records. It's different today. Do you know what I mean? And it's different to me because all I've got to sell is a book and a few likes on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? I just want people to listen to my poems, and if they buy a book, great. Some people might want a handwritten poem. You know what I mean? I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? So to do Sleaford Mods and actually get paid off them to do it, and then for them to take me on their tour when actually we weren't friends. They didn't know me. It's not like I was their local mate on the estate. You know,
of course.
They just liked what I was doing, and they took me with them, and fucking forever in their debt. Jason, Andrew, and I've got to mention Steve Underwood because he's the manager. You know, because I always consider there's three in Sleaford Mods. You know, which was Steve Underwood as well. You know, because he's a really great guy. If you ever get to meet him. He ran a record label, and that's how they ended up sort of getting together. And
do you feel that the poetry's just sort of taken over your life now? Do you think it's become a part of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I write a lot, you know, so yeah, to a degree. I mean, I like writing, and I like there's a lot of new stuff that I've written recently that nobody's heard that I really like, and I can't wait to get it into a new book which I'm working on, and I can't wait to go and do it live, which will be next year. So any gigs I'm going to do at the moment, I tend to stick with what I'm comfortable with, which is your stuff. I've got, when I do the Reverend and the Makers 3 dates in October, there's a couple that are not new, but I've not performed live. So anybody that's come before and has not seen me, because I only get 10-15 minutes, they can expect a few new ones. There's one called Shampoo, Cigs and Shit Roll. Great title, that, isn't it? Which is an old poem, but I just don't perform it, but I know it works live. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's about buying a shampoo. That's the kind of mundane shit you can write about, because it's not easy to buy a shampoo. There's too many fucking choices. So that might go out live. And then, but yeah, we're going back to Sunglasses, weren't we? So I wrote Sunglasses. So I'll tell you how I wrote Sunglasses, right? There was a poet, not John Cooper Clarke, important to say that, but there was a poet that was appeared on social media in a venue, fucking sunglasses on. Quite a famous one. Again, not John Cooper Clarke. Because if John Cooper Clarke wears sunglasses on stage, it's a bit like Bono, innit? He's kind of alright to do it. If Noel Gallagher wears them, we'll let it go. You're still a swat.
I really want to put Bono into the same category as John Cooper Clarke. John Cooper Clarke.
No, yeah. Bono's a twat. Yeah. He's a tax evader.
Yeah.
But there was this, and me and my mate Marvin Cheeseman, who's a great poet. I don't know if you know Marvin.
Don't know, but he's got a good name.
Marvin, you've got to check Marvin out. We're skipping back again, but I did another thing at the King's Arms where I met Marvin Cheeseman, and I'd seen him and heard about him. Marvin's been going for years. He is a really funny, genius poet, but he does totally different style to mine. He does very short, limericky kind of poems, but brilliant. And we were chatting on the phone as we do, blah, 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 because we talk a lot. And I just said, you're ranting like two fucking lads, Have you seen that cunt? Fucking sunglasses on, he died. And we're both having a laugh, you know what I mean? So I had to put the phone down, I goes away, and I just had this thing in me, I take them fucking sunglasses off, the sun's outside, you tool. That's all I had. So I starts writing. I said, take them fucking sunglasses off. You're confusing cunt with cool. And I rang him back, and I went, listen to this. He went, that's fucking nice. I went, I'm going to ring you back in 5 minutes. And I went away again. And that's how it works. If you said to me, write a poem about someone wearing sunglasses, it'd take me ages. I'd go, I don't know. I've got to feel it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just came out. And then I had the line about, sure, take them fucking sunglasses off. And I don't normally do things that repeat. Do you know what I mean? There'll be a word for that, meter or some kind of rhythm that I don't, because I don't know fuck all about poetry and how it works. You know what I mean? There'll be some academic somewhere who'll be able to describe how I wrote it. But when you repeat every second line, there'll be a word for it. I don't know what it is. You have to Wikipedia it. But take them fucking sunglasses off. Surely you can't see. Take them fucking sunglasses off. You're not Lenny from Peters and Lee. Because I always think of Peters and Lee, and I had to Google what was his name, because who remembers what he's called? And then if you said Lenny, when you say Peters and Lee, everyone gets it. But again, when you're performing to a certain audience, I did a gig in Manchester. Sharon will tell you if she was in here, my wife, and it was like a university thing. It was like a studenty thing, and I honestly died on my fucking ass because they were all about fucking 12. Not literally. They were just young.
Yeah.
They didn't get any reference. You know what I mean? If you say Peters and Lee, we get it. Do you know what I mean? Because we grew up with that sort of stuff, opportunity knocks, new faces, and that sort of stuff. So again, I've got to be careful of the audience I perform to, and if I do a younger audience, I tend to change my material, because there's no point in talking about grapes are off. You can't do a poem about piles to a fucking 18-year-old. They go, what's he talking about? I said, we could fucking know in 20 years, You're going to find out, you smarmy bastard, you know what I mean? You might be alright now down there, fucking little tea towel holder. It's going to be fucked in 20 years when you can't shit.
I think
when you're scratching your arm and sniffing your fucking finger. Not that I do.
Would you do me a massive favour and end it how you end all your gigs? And
so you want sunglasses?
And do sunglasses for us.
Sunglasses, yeah.
Just to tidy it all up.
Have we talked too much, or is it all right?
Mate, we can never talk enough.
I'm always conscious I just make a twat of myself, but it's nice to be able to just... See, when you do radio on that, I do a lot of BBC radio on beside Manchester and stuff like that, and they want a specific thing. They get you on,
of course they do.
But they get you on for a certain subject. It's Mother's Day. Come and do things, but don't swear. You're walking and say, whatever you do, don't say fuck. Well, I wasn't planning on doing. Do you know what I mean?
Now you put it in my head.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Right, sunglasses. Right, here we go. Sunglasses. Right. This was written on August the 26th, 2015. So that's when me and Marvin. You need to check Marvin. Listeners, go and Google YouTube Marvin Cheeseman. Done loads of gigs together. He's fucking brilliant. Here we go. Take them fucking sunglasses off. The sun's outside, you tool. Take them fucking sunglasses off. You confusing cunt with cool. Take them fucking sunglasses off. Surely you can't see. Take them fucking sunglasses off. You're not Lenny from Peters and Lee. Take them fucking sunglasses off. It's a look we all deplore. Take them fucking sunglasses off. Lose those delusions of grandeur. Take them fucking sunglasses off. Them shades are a shameful blunder. Take them fucking sunglasses off. You're not Roy Orbison or Stevie Wonder. Take them fucking sunglasses off. Your room is dimly lit. Take them fucking sunglasses off. It's dark in there, you tit.
JB Barrington,
thank you very much
so much, my friend.
Nice one. It's been a pleasure.
Nice one, man.
And it's not the first time I've had a policeman in the fucking house. Hypothetically, listeners, obviously. So, should we eat now?
And another episode is done. I probably should have said, actually, in the intro, yeah, it's very, very not safe for work, this episode. So hopefully you weren't playing that in the car with the kids in the back. That would have been a big mistake. So if you did, sorry. But there is a little explicit on the description of the podcast, as there always is, just in case. You never know, because we don't limit anybody or people don't self-edit on this podcast, which is a very good thing. He was brilliant. He's brilliant. If you don't know JB, go see him on his tour, when he's around doing his poetry. It's a really, really bloody good night, I tell you. Excuse me, just did a little burp. And also, thank you so much to his lovely wife, Sharon, for cooking us that chicken dinner. It was much needed. So, that is it. Oh, what a busy week. Thanks so much for joining us. And, you know, you can get in contact with us, twoshoppod@gmail.com. If you want to drop us a line, that's always nice to hear you. It's always nice to hear from you. And we're on Twitter, @twoshoppod, Facebook, Instagram, you know that. You know, this is, we do this, we don't have any sponsors. We're not part of any larger network. We have a Patreon site, and you are the people that help us make it, supported by you, the listener. Now, if you like what we do, which is definitely 4 episodes a month, or in this month more, they're for free. If you like it, you want to drop us £1, £2, you know, the cost of a bacon roll or a pint. If you like it, you can support us. It's patreon.com/The Two Shot Podcast. Go there. There's a little video that myself and Griff made. Just sort of tells you about it. And, yeah, I'd be really grateful. Just think of it like we're giving you gorgeous meals for your ears every month. And they're free. They're always going to be free meals, right? Maybe you want to tip us. And that'd be pretty nice, because it supports us. And it pays for it. It pays for what we do. It pays for something that we love, and we know that you really love hearing them. So look, that loose change, that spare quid that's down the back of the sofa, dig it out. Maybe you want to give that every month. Anyway, look, go there, check it out. If you don't, that's totally fine as well. If you don't, go and tell a friend about the podcast that they don't know. What do you mean, what's a podcast? Listen to the Two Shot Podcast. I don't want to listen. Have a listen. They do have a listen, right? They'll have a listen. They might like it. All right? That's all you need to do. Pass it on. You're it. Until next week, I've been Craig Parkinson. He's been producer Griff. And this has been the Two Shot Podcast. Go. Have a lovely week. Take care. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.